Mount Rushmore is one of the most iconic monuments in the United States, a colossal sculpture carved into the granite face of the Black Hills in South Dakota. It depicts the faces of four American presidents: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Each of them chosen for the role they played in shaping the history and identity of the United States. Millions of visitors travel to see it every year, marveling at the scale of the project and the craftsmanship of its builders. Yet what many people do not know is that Mount Rushmore hides secrets within its stone walls, secrets of rooms that were never finished, chambers that few have entered, and plans that went far beyond what we see today. To understand these hidden truths, one must go back to the early days of the project, when the dream of Mount Rushmore was first conceived. The idea for the monument came from historian Doane Robinson, who wanted to create a tourist attraction that would draw visitors to South Dakota. He envisioned a grand sculpture that would celebrate the history of the American West. Originally, he proposed carving famous figures from frontier history, such as Lewis and Clark or Buffalo Bill Cody. But when he brought the idea to sculptor Gutzon Borglum, the project took a different turn. Borglum was an ambitious artist who wanted to create something far greater than a regional attraction. He believed the monument should have national significance, something that represented the very essence of the United States. Instead of frontier heroes, he chose presidents, men who had shaped the country's birth, expansion, preservation, and development. Work on Mount Rushmore began in 1927 with teams of workers using dynamite and drills to blast away the rock. The project was dangerous and exhausting, but over the years, the massive faces of the presidents slowly began to emerge from the mountain. What few people realize is that Borglum's vision for the monument was much larger than what was eventually completed. He wanted the sculpture to show the presidents down to their waists, and perhaps even more. He also had plans for a hidden chamber, a grand hall of records that would be carved into the mountain behind the faces. This hall was meant to serve as a repository of America's most important documents, a secret archive that would stand for thousands of years, long after the nation itself might be gone. The Hall of Records was one of Borglum's most ambitious ideas, inspired by ancient monuments like the pyramids of Egypt and the statues of ancient civilizations. He wanted Mount Rushmore to be not just a tribute, but a message to future generations. Inside this chamber, he planned to store documents like the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights. He imagined that one day, far in the future, perhaps when current civilizations had collapsed and new ones had risen, people would discover the hidden chamber and learn about the ideals of liberty and democracy that had defined the United States. The idea was bold, perhaps even eccentric, but Borglum was convinced it was essential. Construction of the Hall of Records began in 1938. Workers carved a tunnel 70 feet deep into the mountain behind Lincoln's Head. The chamber was rough and unfinished, but it was large enough to suggest what Borglum had in mind. Unfortunately, progress was slow and funding was limited. The nation was still recovering from the Great Depression, and with the approach of World War II, resources were directed elsewhere. Borglum died in 1941 before he could see his vision completed. After his death, the government decided to halt work on the chamber and focus only on finishing the faces of the presidents. The Hall of Records was abandoned, a dark tunnel hidden behind the stone gazes of the four leaders. For decades, the existence of this hidden room was largely unknown to the public. Only those directly connected to the project knew of the rough tunnel cut into the mountain. Rumors began to circulate about what lay inside. Some imagined treasure, secret documents, or even hidden passageways that stretched deep into the mountain. Conspiracy theories grew, as they often do when there is mystery. People wondered if the government had hidden sensitive information inside, or if the chamber had been secretly completed in later years. Of course, most of these rumors were exaggerations, but there was some truth to the idea that Mount Rushmore contained more than met the eye. In the 1990s, the idea of the Hall of Records was briefly revived. Although the grand chamber Borglum imagined was never finished, officials decided to honor part of his vision. They placed a series of porcelain enamel panels inside a small repository within the tunnel. These panels told the story of the monument and the ideals of American democracy. They explained why the 4 presidents had been chosen and what they represented. The panels were sealed inside a titanium vault within the unfinished chamber, so that if future generations discovered it, they would know the purpose of Mount Rushmore and the principles of the United States. While this was far less dramatic than Borglum's original plan, it ensured that at least some version of his dream was realized. Yet the unfinished Hall of Records remains shrouded in mystery. Even today, the public is not allowed inside. Only a handful of officials have entered the chamber, and photographs are rare. This secrecy has fueled speculation about what else might be hidden within the mountain. Some believe there are deeper tunnels branching off from the chamber, perhaps started by workers, but never documented. Others suggest that during the Cold War, the government might have used the hidden space for secret purposes, storage of sensitive materials, or even as a shelter. These ideas are difficult to prove, but they continue to fascinate those who are drawn to the hidden history of the monument. The story of Mount Rushmore's hidden rooms is also tied to the land itself. The Black Hills are sacred to the Lakota Sioux people, who view the carving of the mountain as a desecration of their holy land, before it was known as Mount Rushmore. The Lakota called the mountain's 6 grandfathers a place of spiritual significance. The decision to carve the faces of American presidents into it was deeply controversial to the native people whose lands had been taken by the U.S. government for them. The idea that the mountain hides secret chambers adds another layer of pain and mystery. What lies inside is not just a curiosity, but a symbol of broken promises and lost heritage. This tension between the monument as a national symbol and the mountain as sacred land remains unresolved to this day. Visitors who stand before Mount Rushmore see the grandeur of the sculpture, but they cannot see what lies behind the stone faces. They do not see the unfinished tunnel or the sealed vault. They do not see the abandoned dreams of Borglum or the forgotten controversies that swirl around the monument. All they see are the 4 presidents gazing out over the land, a silent reminder of America's history and ambition. But those who know the hidden stories understand that Mount Rushmore is more than just a tourist attraction. It is a monument layered with secrets, unfinished visions, and unresolved questions. A monument that continues to guard its mysteries within the granite of the Black Hills.